Welcome to the Sleeping Times channel. Tonight we bring you a story that will transport you directly to a time when harvest wasn't just agricultural work. It was the most sacred moment of the year, when entire communities united in ancestral rituals that deeply connected humanity to the land that sustained them. Imagine a world where every grain harvested was a divine blessing, where the simple act of cutting an ear of wheat was a sacred ritual that echoed through generations. And what if I told you that 4,000 years ago, our Bronze Age ancestors created harvest festivals so rich in meaning and beauty that their traditions still echo in our modern celebrations? Discover how these ancient communities transformed gratitude into a living art, where each person was simultaneously a worker, a celebrant, and a guardian of millennia. Old traditions that connected the physical world to the spiritual. If you enjoy stories that move you, surprise you, and make you think about our deepest roots, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and hit the notification bell so you never miss anything. Let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. And tell me, have you ever participated in a celebration that deeply connected you with nature? And remember, throughout the week, we bring new adventures and incredible eras waiting to inspire you. Are you ready to embark on this journey through the golden fields of the past? So, make yourself comfortable, turn off the lights if you want a more immersive experience, and get ready to discover how a harvest festival was truly a celebration of life in its purest form. The sun still slumbered on the horizon when the first golden rays began to gently caress the thatched roofs of the small village. It was the most anticipated day of the year, the Great Harvest Festival. The morning air carried the sweet, earthy aroma of ripe grains gently swaying in the surrounding fields, creating a whispering symphony that lulled the inhabitants through their last moments of sleep. The first wisps of smoke began to rise from the stone chimneys, where the embers of the previous night were carefully rekindled. The comforting smell of burning wood mingled with the scent of aromatic herbs that the women began to prepare for the day's rituals. Wild thyme, sage, and other sacred plants were delicately selected, their leaves still damp with morning dew. In the circular adobe and wooden houses, families slowly awoke, enveloped by the special atmosphere that hung in the air. The children were the first to feel the day's magic, their eyes shining with anticipation for the celebrations to come. The adults moved with silent reverence, knowing that this day marked not only the end of months of hard work, but also the renewal of their ancestral connection to the land. The fields around the village stretched out like a golden sea, gently undulating under the morning breeze. Barley, primitive wheat, and other ancient grains patiently awaited harvest, their heavy stalks gracefully bending towards the soil that had nourished them. It was a spectacle repeated for generations, an eternal cycle connecting this community to its ancestors and its descendants. The distant sound of animal hide drums echoed softly through the village, a slow, hypnotic rhythm marking the official start of the celebrations. These instruments, lovingly crafted by the skilled hands of local artisans, carried the power to connect the physical world to the spiritual, creating a bridge between the living and the spirits of nature. The elder women of the village began to chant low, melodious songs, their voices intertwining like threads of a sonic tapestry. These songs, passed from mother to daughter through countless generations, carried ancestral wisdom and the power to bless the coming harvest. Each note was carefully modulated to harmonize with the natural sounds of dawn. The men gathered in small groups, checking their polished bronze tools that gleamed like gold under the growing sunlight. Scythes, knives, and other agricultural implements were carefully examined, For today they were not merely tools but sacred instruments that would participate in the harvest rituals. Bronze, a precious metal of this era, reflected not only the sunlight but also the prosperity and technological progress of the community. Cattle grazed peacefully in nearby meadows, their presence adding a sense of abundance and security to the scene. Robust oxen, agile goats, and thick-wooled sheep represented the village's wealth, and today they too would participate in the celebrations, some being offered as sacrifice to the gods of fertility, others simply adorning the festival with their majestic presence. The first offerings of the day were delicately placed on small stone altars scattered throughout the village. Ripe fruits, freshly baked bread, and ceramic jars containing golden honey were arranged with reverence, creating small sanctuaries that honored the deities responsible for the abundance of the harvest. Honey, especially, was considered a gift from the gods, its sweetness representing divine benevolence. As the village fully awakened, a palpable sense of gratitude and anticipation filled the air. This was not just a day of work, but a sacred moment of reconnection with the forces that govern life and death, abundance and scarcity. Every inhabitant, from the youngest child to the most respected elder, felt in their heart the importance of this day, which marked the culmination of the agricultural cycle and the beginning of a new phase of hope and renewal. The first hours of the morning are dedicated to the ritual preparations that will transform this ordinary day into a sacred celebration. The village women head to the crystal-clear stream that winds near the houses, carrying ceramic jars decorated with geometric patterns that tell ancestral stories. The water, a purifying element par excellence, will be blessed by the elders before being used in spiritual cleansing rituals. The ritual bath is a moment of deep introspection and preparation. Each person dips their hands into the fresh water, washing not only the body but symbolically purifying the soul to receive the blessings of the harvest. The children carefully observe the adults, learning through imitation the sacred gestures that one day they too will teach their own children, thus perpetuating a millennia-old tradition. In the village workshops, artisans work feverishly to complete the last ornaments that will decorate the festival. Crowns of golden ears of grain are skillfully woven, each grain carefully selected for its perfection and beauty. These crowns are not mere adornments, but powerful symbols of the connection between humanity and the generosity of the earth, each ear representing a prayer of gratitude. The weavers finalize the ceremonial garments that will be worn during the main rituals. Linen fabrics dyed with colors extracted from local plants. Earthy ochre, deep blue from wild indigo, vibrant red from madder, are carefully sewn into tunics that will transform the participants into almost divine figures. Each color holds sacred meaning. Ochre represents the fertile earth, blue symbolizes the protective sky, and red evokes the vital force that flows through all living beings. The aroma of natural incense begins to spread through the village, creating an ethereal and mystical atmosphere. Resins from sacred trees, dried aromatic herbs, and essential oils extracted from wildflowers are burned in bronze braziers, their smoke ascending to the heavens like visible prayers. This sacred perfume not only purifies the air, but also elevates the spirit of the participants, preparing them for communion with the deities of nature. The village musicians carefully tune their instruments. Bone flutes produce melancholic and hypnotic sounds. Drums of different sizes create rhythms that echo the heartbeat of the earth, and rattles made from dried seeds add sonic textures that mimic the whisper of the wind in the grain fields. Each instrument is considered sacred, capable of channeling spiritual energies through its ancestral melodies. The offerings are prepared with reverence and attention to the smallest details. Breads are shaped into forms representing symbols of fertility. spirals, circles, stylized female figures, each baked until it acquires a golden color that rivals the sun's brilliance. Fruits are polished until they shine like jewels, and jars of honey are decorated with linen ribbons that dance gently in the morning breeze. The village elders gather in council to review the rituals that will be performed, ensuring that every gesture, every word, every movement is executed according to the traditions passed down by their ancestors. Their voices, though weakened by age, carry the authority of decades of experience and wisdom, and their words are heard with profound respect by the entire community. Temporary altars are erected at strategic points throughout the village, each dedicated to a specific deity responsible for different aspects of agriculture. Stones are carefully stacked, forming simple but powerful structures decorated with garlands of wildflowers and oak branches, a sacred tree symbolizing strength and longevity. These altars will serve as focal points for prayers and offerings throughout the festival. As preparations intensify, a palpable sense of unity and common purpose permeates the entire village. Every person, regardless of age or social standing, contributes in some way to the success of the celebration. This collective collaboration not only ensures that all details are taken care of, but also strengthens the community bonds that are essential for the group's survival and prosperity, creating a network of mutual support that will extend far beyond this special day. The most sacred moment of the festival finally arrives when the sun reaches its ideal position in the sky, creating perfect shadows that the elders interpret as divine signs to begin the harvest. A respectful silence falls over the village as the community's spiritual leader walks to the main field, carrying a polished bronze sickle that gleams like a small crescent moon in his experienced hands. The first ear of grain to be cut is chosen with extreme care, for it will represent the entire harvest and determine the village's fortune for the next agricultural cycle. The elder examines each golden stalk, looking for signs of divine perfection. Full and uniform grains, intense golden color, absence of pests or diseases. When he finally finds the ideal ear, he raises it to the heavens in silent offering before cutting it with a precise and reverent motion. The sound of the bronze blade cutting the stalk echoes through the field like a sacred bell, officially marking the beginning of the harvest. This simple yet profoundly significant sound is met with sighs of relief and gratitude from the entire community, as it represents the confirmation that the gods have approved their efforts and blessed their harvest with abundance and quality. Immediately after the first cut, ancestral chants begin to rise from the fields, female voices intertwining in complex harmonies that have been perfected over generations. These songs are not merely expressions of joy, but also powerful invocations that ask for divine protection during the harvesting process and give thanks for the blessings received. The workers spread across the fields in carefully organized formations, each group responsible for a specific section of the crop. Men, women, and children work side by side, their bronze sickles and knives creating a hypnotic rhythm as they cut the ripe stalks. The work is arduous, but the atmosphere is one of celebration, with laughter and cheerful conversation punctuating the physical effort. The cut ears are carefully gathered into sheaves, tied with ropes of vegetable fiber braided by the village women during the long winter months. Each sheaf is treated as a precious treasure, for it represents not only food for the body, but also security and prosperity for the entire family. The sheaves are arranged in organized rows, creating a geometric pattern that is pleasing to the eye and facilitates transport. Small children run among the workers, collecting grains that fall during the cutting and playing with dolls made of braided straw. Their presence adds a dimension of innocent joy to the serious work of the harvest, reminding everyone that this effort is made with the future in mind for the next generations who will benefit from the current abundance. The midday sun warms the fields, creating heat waves that make the golden landscape shimmer like a mirage. The sweat of the workers mixes with the golden pollen floating in the air, creating a physical and spiritual connection between humans and the plants they have cultivated with such care. This symbolic union represents the fundamental interdependence between humanity and nature. Jars of fresh water and fermented barley beer circulate among the workers, offering relief from the heat and keeping spirits high. The beer, considered a gift from the gods of agriculture, not only quenches thirst, but also strengthens the sense of communion and celebration that permeates the entire harvesting process. As the day progresses, impressive piles of golden sheaves begin to form at the edges of the fields, tangible testimonies to the success of the harvest. These mountains of grain represent months of arduous work, from preparing the land to planting, tending, and finally harvesting. Each sheaf tells a story of hope, perseverance, and faith in the generosity of the earth, creating a visual mosaic that symbolizes the abundance and security that will sustain the village during the cold months to come. When the sun reaches its zenith, casting minimal shadows upon the golden earth, the harvesting work is temporarily suspended to make way for the sacred midday rituals. This moment, when the sunlight is most intense and pure, is considered ideal for communication with the celestial deities who govern agriculture and fertility. A sacred circle is formed in the center of the main field, with participants positioning themselves according to carefully preserved ancestral hierarchies. The village's spiritual leader, dressed in ceremonial tunics embroidered with fertility symbols, walks slowly to the center of the circle, carrying a polished bronze bowl that reflects the sun's rays like a divine mirror. This bowl, passed down from generation to generation, contains a sacred mixture of grains of different varieties, representing the diversity and abundance that the earth offers to its faithful children. The respectful silence that settles is broken only by the gentle whisper of the wind in the fields and the distant singing of birds that seem to participate in the ceremony. The elder raises the bowl to the heavens, his words of invocation echoing through the fields in an ancient tongue that few still fully understand, but which everyone feels in their hearts as a direct connection to their ancestors. Incense made from aromatic resins is burned in portable braziers, creating columns of fragrant smoke that rise in hypnotic spirals towards the blue sky. The sweet, earthy aroma of the incense mingles with the natural scent of ripe grains, creating a sensory atmosphere that transports participants to a state of heightened consciousness where the physical and spiritual worlds meet. Each community member, in order of age and social position, approaches the central altar to make their personal offering. Small children offer wildflowers picked that morning, their petals still damp with dew, while adults present portions of their best grains, most perfect fruits, and jars of golden honey that gleams like liquid amber under the intense sunlight. The village musicians begin to play an ancestral melody, their instruments creating a primitive yet deeply emotional symphony. Bone flutes produce high-pitched notes that imitate the bird's song. Animal-hide drums mark a rhythm that echoes the earth's heartbeat, and dried seed rattles add sonic textures reminiscent of the wind's whisper in the ripe fields. Ritual dances begin to form spontaneously, with participants moving in circular patterns that mimic the natural cycles of the seasons. Men and women dance separately, then unite in complex formations that represent the union between the masculine and feminine forces of nature. Each movement is laden with symbolic meaning, telling ancestral stories through the universal language of the body. The climax of the ritual occurs when the spiritual leader slowly pours the sacred grains from the bowl onto the earth, creating a perfect circle that symbolizes the eternal cycle of planting, growth, harvest, and renewal. Every grain that touches the soil is a promise of future harvests, a seed of hope planted not in the earth, but in the hearts of all present. Libations of barley beer and mead are poured over the circle of grains, symbolically nourishing the earth that has nourished the community throughout the year. The golden liquid slowly infiltrates the soil, carrying with it the prayers and gratitude of the entire village, creating a tangible connection between the living and the invisible forces that govern agriculture. As the ritual draws to a close, a palpable sense of renewal and hope permeates the group. Participants feel that they have been blessed and purified, ready to face the challenges of the coming months with the certainty that the gods have approved their efforts and will continue to protect their community. The sacred circle slowly disperses, but the spiritual energy generated during the ceremony remains, enveloping the entire village in an aura of protection and prosperity that will last until the next harvest. As shadows begin to lengthen and the intense midday heat gives way to a softer breeze, the village transforms into a grand open-air banquet hall. Long tables made of polished oak planks are arranged in a circular formation around a large central bonfire, creating an inviting atmosphere for communion and celebration. Linen tablecloths dyed with earthy colors cover the tables, decorated with garlands of golden ears of grain and wildflowers that exude soft fragrances. The village women, who have spent days preparing this special feast, begin to bring out dishes that represent the best of Bronze Age cuisine. Breads of different shapes and flavors, some sweet with honey and dried fruits, others savory with aromatic herbs, are arranged in woven wicker baskets. Each bread tells a story through its shape. Spirals represent the cycles of life, circles symbolize eternity, and stylized human figures honor the ancestors. Meats, slowly roasted in stone ovens, exude mouth-watering aromas that awaken the senses. Whole lambs, wild boars hunted in nearby forests, and domestic fowl carefully raised in the village are seasoned with local herbs that grow abundantly in the surrounding fields and hills. The slow cooking process allows the flavors to fully develop, creating dishes that are true culinary works of art. Ceramic bowls decorated with intricate geometric patterns are filled with rich and nutritious stews. Vegetables from the village garden, onions, leeks, various roots, are cooked together with freshly harvested grains, creating flavor combinations that nourish both body and soul. Each bowl is a small celebration of the agricultural diversity that the community has managed to cultivate through its dedicated work. Fresh and dried fruits are artistically arranged on carved wooden trays, their vibrant colors creating an edible rainbow that delights the eyes even before touching the lips. Red and golden apples, juicy pears, sweet grapes, and ripe figs represent the generosity of the fruit trees that have been carefully cultivated and protected over the years. Special drinks prepared exclusively for this occasion circulate among the guests in decorated ceramic jars. Golden mead, fermented with honey from local beehives and flavored with medicinal herbs, offers a sweet and complex taste that warms the heart. Barley beer, thick and nutritious, provides liquid sustenance that perfectly complements the solid foods of the feast. The village children, dressed in their best clothes and crowned with small garlands of flowers, run between the tables, serving fresh water in polished horn cups and offering radiant smiles that further brighten the festive atmosphere. Their contagious energy and innocent joy add a special dimension to the celebration, reminding everyone that this feast is also a celebration of the future and the continuity of the community. Itinerant musicians who have traveled from distant villages especially to participate in this celebration play joyful melodies that invite dancing and singing. Their songs tell stories of other lands, other harvests, other peoples who also celebrate the generosity of the earth creating a sense of connection with a broader human community that extends far beyond the village limits. Respected elders occupy places of honor at the main tables, their experienced voices sharing stories of past harvests, lessons learned through decades of agricultural experience, and ancestral wisdom that will be passed down to future generations. Their words are listened to with reverent attention, for they represent the living memory of the community and the bridge between the past and the future. As the meal progresses, a growing sense of gratitude and satisfaction permeates the entire group. This is not just a feast to nourish the body, but a celebration of life in community, of the interdependence that unites all members of the village, and of the sacred relationship between humanity and the land that sustains them. Every bite is savored not only for its taste, but for the profound meaning it carries, the confirmation that another agricultural cycle has been successfully completed, and that the community is prepared to face the challenges of the coming months. When the last crumbs of the feast are carefully gathered and the tables moved aside to create a wide circular space, the village prepares for one of the oldest and most sacred traditions of the festival, the ancestral dances that connect the living to the spirits of their ancestors. The rhythmic sound of animal-hide drums begins to echo through the approaching night, creating a hypnotic pulse that seems to synchronize with the heartbeats of all present. The large central bonfire is fed with special aromatic woods, oak for strength, birch for purification, and pine for protection, creating flames that dance in golden and orange hues against the gradually darkening sky. The sparks rising from the flames seem like earthly stars ascending to join their celestial sisters, creating a visual bridge between the terrestrial world and the infinite cosmos. The dancers approach the sacred circle wearing ceremonial attire that has been carefully preserved and passed down through generations. Linen tunics dyed with symbolic colors, earthy red for fertility, deep blue for the protective sky, golden yellow for the benevolent sun, float gracefully as their bodies move in patterns that mimic the natural cycles of the seasons. The first dance represents the planting of spring, with soft, upward movements that symbolize the growth of seeds in the dark earth. The dancers crouch close to the ground, then slowly rise with arms outstretched like young shoots seeking sunlight. Every gesture is precise and laden with meaning, telling the story of renewal and hope that marks the beginning of each agricultural cycle. Bone flutes join the drums, their sharp, melancholic notes evoking the song of birds returning in spring and the whisper of the wind in the green fields. The melody is simple, yet deeply emotional, touching ancestral chords in the soul of every listener and transporting them to a state of consciousness where time seems suspended and the connection with nature becomes almost tangible. The second dance celebrates the growth of summer, with more vigorous and expansive movements that represent the vital energy flowing through all living things. Men and women dance in concentric circles, their steps creating complex patterns that mimic the sun's movement across the sky and the exuberant growth of plants under the summer heat. Rattles made from dried seeds and small bronze bells add sonic textures reminiscent of the rustling of leaves in the wind and the buzzing of pollinating insects. These natural sounds, recreated through handcrafted instruments, create a primitive symphony that connects dancers and spectators to the fundamental rhythms of natural life. The third dance honors the autumn harvest, with circular movements that represent abundance and gratitude. The dancers carry sheaves of golden grain and baskets of fruit, symbolically offering them to the four cardinal points in recognition of the natural forces that made the harvest possible. Their faces glow with sweat and joy, reflecting the light of the flames like golden masks of earthly deities. Small children spontaneously join the dances, their innocent and carefree movements adding a dimension of purity and renewal to the celebrations. Although they do not yet fully understand the profound meaning of the rituals, they intuitively absorb the patterns and rhythms that one day they will pass on to their own children, ensuring the continuity of ancestral traditions. As the night progresses and stars begin to appear in the dark sky, the dances become slower and more contemplative, gradually preparing the participants for the rest that will come. The final movements imitate the retreat of winter, when the earth rests and prepares for a new cycle of renewal. The music fades to an almost inaudible whisper, and the dancers slowly withdraw from the sacred circle, leaving only the crackling flames and the soft echo of the drums to lull the village towards restorative sleep. When the ancestral dances come to an end and tired bodies seek the comfort of improvised seats around the large central bonfire, one of the festival's most cherished traditions begins, the moment of sacred stories. The golden light of the flames dances on the attentive faces of the listeners, creating a natural theatre where shadows and lights alternate, bringing to life the words of the storytellers who preserve the village's collective memory. The most respected elder of the community, his white beard gleaming like silver in the firelight, takes his place of honor on a special seat decorated with animal skins and embroidered cushions. His voice, though weakened by age, carries the authority of decades of experience and the accumulated wisdom of countless generations. When he raises his hand to ask for silence, even the most restless children quiet down, knowing they are about to hear treasures of ancestral knowledge. The first story tells of the region's first inhabitants, mythical heroes who cleared the wildlands and established the first crops. These narratives, though embellished by oral tradition, carry grains of historical truth about agricultural techniques, the challenges faced by pioneers, and the lessons learned through trial and error that shaped the community's current practices. Wide-eyed children snuggle closer to the adults, their imaginations soaring with descriptions of magical creatures that protect the harvests, benevolent spirits that inhabit the grain fields, and powerful deities that control the rains and the sun. These stories are not just entertainment, but educational tools that teach moral values, survival techniques, and the importance of harmony with nature. The storyteller uses dramatic gestures and voice changes to bring to life the different characters in his narratives. His hands move gracefully in the air, creating shadows that illustrate the scenes described, while his voice alternates between mysterious whispers and dramatic exclamations that make listeners lean forward with anticipation or lean back with relief. A second story recounts a great famine that struck the region many generations ago and how cooperation between neighboring villages and the wisdom of the elders allowed the community to survive the difficult times. This narrative serves as a reminder of the importance of solidarity, careful planning, and the need to always keep reserves for times of scarcity. Young adults listen attentively to stories that speak of rites of passage, sacred marriages between representatives of different villages, and the responsibilities that accompany adulthood. These narratives function as moral and social guides, teaching through symbolic examples how to navigate the complexities of community life. The soft sound of the night wind in the grain fields provides a natural soundtrack for the stories, its constant whisper reminding everyone of the living presence of nature around them. Occasionally, the distant hoot of an owl or the solitary howl of a wolf adds elements of mystery and connection to the wild world that exists beyond the safe confines of the village. As the night progresses, the stories become more intimate and personal, with different community members sharing memories of past harvests, lessons learned through personal experiences, and dreams for the village's future. These contemporary narratives intertwine with ancient legends, creating a rich tapestry of human experience that connects the past, present, and future. The last story of the night is always a narrative of hope and renewal, speaking of the eternal cycle of seasons and the promise that, no matter how difficult the coming times may be, spring will always return to bring new life and new opportunities. This final message lulls the listeners with a sense of security and optimism, preparing them for a peaceful sleep filled with golden dreams like the grain fields that surround them. In the quietest hours of the night, when only the brightest stars witness the sacred rituals, the village's spiritual leaders prepare to perform the most important offerings of the festival. This solemn moment, reserved only for those initiated into ancestral mysteries, represents the pinnacle of communication between the human world and the deities who govern agriculture and the fertility of the earth. A special altar is prepared at the highest point of the village, where proximity to the sky facilitates the ascent of prayers and offerings to the celestial gods. Sacred stones, polished by generations of ritual use, are carefully arranged in geometric patterns that reflect cosmic order and create a consecrated space where the sacred can manifest in the physical world. The offerings are selected with extreme care, representing the best the community can offer in gratitude for the blessings received. Perfect grains without defects or signs of deterioration are arranged in polished bronze bowls that reflect the starlight like liquid mirrors. Each grain is individually examined, for only perfection is worthy of being offered to the deities. Rare incenses made from precious resins collected in distant forests during trade expeditions are burned in special braziers that have been blessed by generations of priests. The aromatic smoke rising from these incenses carries the community's prayers, creating an olfactory bridge between the earthly world and the celestial spheres where the gods reside. The spiritual leader, wearing ceremonial tunics embroidered with gold and silver threads that shimmer softly in the starlight, chants in a sacred language that few still fully comprehend. These ancient words, preserved through rigorous oral tradition, possess intrinsic power to open channels of communication with the divine forces that control human destinies. Libations of mead and beer, specially prepared for this occasion, are poured over the altar, symbolically feeding the gods and demonstrating the community's generosity. The golden liquid slowly seeps into the sacred stones, carrying with it the essence of the prayers and the spiritual energy accumulated throughout the festival. Small valuable objects, bronze jewelry, amulets carved from bone, finely embroidered fabrics, are placed on the altar as permanent gifts for the deities. These objects, created by the most skilled artisans in the village, represent not only material value, but also the time, effort, and devotion invested in their creation. The most solemn moment occurs when a portion of the first harvested grains is completely burned in the sacred fire, transforming into smoke that ascends to the heavens as an ethereal offering. The sweet aroma of the burning grains mixes with the incense, creating a unique fragrance that marks this moment as special and sacred in the memory of all present. Silent prayers are offered by each participant, personal and communal requests whispered directly into divine ears. These prayers include gratitude for the current harvest, requests for protection during the coming winter, and pleas for fertility and abundance in the next agricultural cycle. Each prayer is offered with profound sincerity and unwavering faith in the power of the deities to influence human destinies. Divine signs are carefully observed and interpreted by the experienced priests. The direction of the incense smoke, the behavior of the sacred flames, the appearance of shooting stars in the night sky. These omens are analyzed with ancestral knowledge to determine if the offerings have been accepted and what kind of future awaits the community. As the ritual draws to a close, a palpable sense of peace and completeness descends upon the participants. The certainty that they have fulfilled their sacred obligations and maintained harmony with the divine forces provides deep relief and renewed confidence in the future. The altar will remain untouched until dawn, allowing the offerings to continue emanating their spiritual energy throughout the night, sealing the alliance between the human community and the deities who govern their destiny. As the first lights of dawn begin to tint the horizon with soft shades of pink and gold, the most respected elders of the village gather to perform the festival's final ceremony, the blessing that will seal the harvest and protect the community during the coming months. This ritual, passed down through countless generations, represents the culmination of all sacred events and marks the official transition from harvest time to the period of preparation for winter. The sacred circle is reformed in the center of the village, but this time only the oldest and most experienced members of the community participate directly, while the rest of the population forms concentric circles around them, creating a human mandala that symbolizes the unity and continuity of ancestral tradition. The respectful silence that settles is broken only by the gentle singing of morning birds and the whisper of the wind in the freshly harvested fields. The oldest elder of the village, a woman whose exact age is lost in the mists of time but whose wisdom is revered by all, takes her place in the center of the circle. Her hands, though trembling with age, still maintain the firmness necessary to perform the sacred gestures she learned when she was just a child, watching her own grandmother perform the same rituals decades ago. A special bowl, made of sacred oak wood and polished by generations of ritual use, is filled with pure water collected from the cleanest spring in the region during sunrise. This water, considered blessed by the dawn, possesses special purifying properties that make it ideal for the blessing and protection rituals about to be performed. Sacred herbs collected during the previous full moon are added to the water, creating an infusion that combines the magical properties of the plants with the purity of the spring water. Each herb was chosen for its specific properties: lavender for peace, sage for wisdom, thyme for courage, and other plants whose powers were discovered and tested by generations of healers and priests. The elders begin to chant blessings in voices that, though weakened by age, carry the authority of decades of spiritual experience. These ancient songs, composed at a time when the boundary between the physical and spiritual worlds was thinner, possess the power to invoke divine protection and seal the positive energies generated throughout the festival. Each member of the community, starting with the youngest children and ending with the youngest adults, approaches the elders to receive an individual blessing. The elder dips her fingers into the sacred water and gently touches the forehead of each person, whispering words of protection and prosperity that are personalized for the specific needs of each individual. Children receive blessings for healthy growth and wisdom to learn ancestral traditions. Young adults are blessed with fertility, both for their families and for their future crops. Mature adults receive protection for their responsibilities as leaders and providers of the community. Each blessing is an intimate moment of spiritual connection that strengthens the bonds between generations. Agricultural tools and seeds saved for the next planting are brought to be blessed by the elders. Bronze sickles, wooden plows, storage baskets, and seed jars are sprinkled with the sacred water and touched by the experienced hands of the old sages, imbuing them with spiritual protection that will ensure their proper functioning and the fertility of future harvests. The ritual culminates when the elders raise their joined hands to the heavens, offering a collective prayer that summarizes all the hopes, fears, and aspirations of the community. This final prayer, pronounced in unison by voices representing centuries of accumulated wisdom, creates a powerful spiritual energy that envelops the entire village in an aura of protection and blessing that will last until the next harvest festival. As the sun fully rises on the horizon, bathing the village with its golden, warming light, the great harvest festival comes to its natural end, but also marks the beginning of a new cycle of hope and preparation. The fields, now stripped of their golden grains, stretch out like a sea of stubble whispering promises of future renewal. The village atmosphere has subtly changed overnight. Where before there was anticipation and celebration, now reigns a quiet sense of completeness and satisfaction. Families begin to slowly disperse, carrying with them not only the physical grains of the harvest, but also the precious memories and spiritual energy accumulated during the sacred rituals. Children run through the empty fields, their joyful voices echoing through the morning air as they play among the remnants of the harvest, unconsciously absorbing the lessons about natural cycles and renewal they witnessed during the festival. The village granaries, now filled with carefully stored golden grains, represent security and abundance for the cold months to come. Each sack of grain, each sheaf of straw, each jar of seeds saved for the next planting tells a story of hard work, community cooperation, and faith in the generosity of the earth. These tangible treasures of the harvest provide not only physical sustenance, but also peace of mind. Village artisans are already planning winter projects when the long nights will be filled with the creation of tools, fabrics, and decorative objects that will be needed for the next agricultural cycle. The remaining straw from the harvest will be transformed into baskets, ropes, and other useful items, ensuring that nothing is wasted and that every part of the harvest contributes to the community's well-being. Women gather to discuss the preservation of harvested foods, sharing ancestral recipes for drying, fermenting, and storing grains, fruits, and vegetables in a way that maintains their nutritional value throughout the winter. These techniques, perfected over generations, represent precious knowledge that ensures the community's survival during the months when the earth rests. Men inspect and repair the agricultural tools that were intensively used during the harvest, preparing them for winter storage and planning improvements that will be implemented before the next planting. This meticulous care for working instruments reflects the deep understanding that future prosperity depends on the proper maintenance of current resources. Elders gather to mentally record the details of the current harvest, which grain varieties produced best, which agricultural techniques were most effective, which natural signs accurately predicted weather conditions. This empirical knowledge, accumulated through careful observation and practical experience, will be passed down to future generations as a treasure of agricultural wisdom. Young couples take advantage of the atmosphere of abundance and renewal to make plans for their own families, knowing that the successful harvest provides the necessary stability to raise children and build prosperous futures. The festival not only celebrates the current harvest, but also plants seeds of hope for generations yet to come. Traders from distant villages begin to arrive to negotiate surplus harvest, bringing with them products from other regions: sea salt, precious metals, exotic fabrics, and rare spices. These commercial exchanges not only materially enrich the village, but also create cultural connections that expand the community's knowledge and perspectives, reminding everyone that they are part of a larger network of human civilization. As the day progresses and daily activities gradually return to their normal rhythm, a subtle but profound transformation manifests in the village atmosphere. People move with renewed confidence, their faces radiating the satisfaction of those who have fulfilled their sacred obligations and ensured the prosperity of their community. The festival has left its mark not only in the full granaries, but also in the hearts and spirits of all participants. As the last embers of the great bonfire turn into golden ashes that will be scattered across the fields as a final blessing, we are invited to reflect on the profound wisdom contained in these ancestral rituals of the Bronze Age. These harvest festivals were not merely celebrations of material abundance, but sacred ceremonies that recognized the fundamental interdependence between humanity and nature, between individual labor and collective well-being. In our modern era of artificial abundance and digital disconnection, There is something deeply touching in the simplicity and authenticity of these ancient rituals. Our ancestors intuitively understood that gratitude is not just a feeling, but an active practice that strengthens community bonds and renews our appreciation for the gifts we receive. They knew that celebrating the harvest was also celebrating life in its most essential form, the earth's ability to sustain us and our responsibility to honor that gift. The Great Harvest Festival teaches us that true prosperity lies not only in the accumulation of material goods, but in the creation of resilient communities where every member contributes to the common good and where ancestral traditions provide stability and meaning in a constantly changing world. Perhaps in our moments of quietude, we can still hear the distant echo of those ancestral drums, reminding us that we are part of an unbroken lineage of human beings who found in gratitude, community, and reverence for nature the keys to a truly abundant life.